So, cars, how do we do that? First, let's get started by setting up our component systems. We're going to be using ECS, which stands for Entity Component System. So in our components folder, we'll have vehicle and wheel, and then our jobs folder will have an update for the wheel. So let's start by looking at our vehicle component. So our vehicle component holds some data. So it holds our entity, our chassis, the wheels we have, and our parameters. It then initializes the wheels and returns the data. So now let's look at our wheel component. So our wheel component holds our entity, our vehicle, a vector force, dampening suspension, tire grip, suspension height, and then some other stuff, which we will talk about later. So the first thing that we need for our wheels is suspension. And we're going to be using this formula called Hooke's Law. So Hooke's Law is F equals Kx, where K is the spring constant and X is the displacement from the spring's origin. We can use this to calculate our car suspension. So we'll modify the equation a little bit to support our dampening coefficient and relative velocity. This will dampen the spring so it doesn't keep on bouncing up and down forever. So this is what our update wheel system looks like right now. So the first thing we do is we raycast down from the wheel and we check if there's anything under it. This will help us get the information needed for the suspension. Then we'll calculate our extension and our relative velocity, and we'll finally calculate the suspension force that we talked about earlier. Then we'll add this on to the force of the wheel. In the game now, we can see that the suspension is working perfectly fine, and we just have to adjust some values to make it perfect. We can see that the platform is moving around a lot, but that's because we haven't added any friction forces. We only have the air resistance to stop the car from moving. So how can we add friction then? Well, the friction equation is F equals mu times N, where mu is 0 to 1 and the normal value is just a vector. So now we've added our forward friction force and our sideways friction force. So we have different values for both because a car moves forward more than it moves side to side. And as you can see now, we have some friction values, and yeah, it works pretty good now. We have suspension and friction and all that, and we can control it all ourselves. So with these basic principles, we can achieve basically anything from this flying car to a motorcycle, for example. So in part 2, we'll be discussing how we can drift and also player controls and all of that. We'll also be discussing how we can achieve stuff like motorcycles, so please stay tuned for that as well.